a lot of gyms talk about wanting to favour more female memberships, but they're not actually providing a safe space.
This year at PerformX, the Gym Owners Forum took their community on the road, and we actually hosted our very own networking community event right in the heart of the show. Now, the conversations that we were having on the day were with doctors, gym owners, industry experts, and suppliers, all with the ultimate goal of educating, supporting, and uplifting the industry. Now, over the weeks following PerformX, what we'll do so that you guys don't miss out is be sharing those conversations that we had with those people on the stage. So without further ado, let's jump right into it.
Shannon, hello and welcome to the very, very first talk on the Gym Owners Forum stage at PerformX. How excited are you to be here? Let's start with that.
I must say it's a privilege.
I mean, yeah, it's different, I think. It's different from what we normally do. I mean, like, obviously we worked together for however long I've been at Ashwater, 3 years. And then recently you've started a new venture. So I think that was a pretty interesting thing that I want to talk about to start off with. MFG, hot on the scene. Shannon White, next big prospect, get to know. Yeah, tell us a little bit about MFG. Like, why did you start? Where did the idea come from, I guess? Like, why have you decided to kind of pivot into the manufacturing equipment business?
So I suppose first and foremost, I'll explain a little bit about my background, who I am, and most people.
Start, yeah.
It's all right, no problem. Most people, listening to this probably wouldn't know who I am. So I am a bodybuilder. So I've been competing in bodybuilding at a fairly high level. I mean, like 7 or 8 years now, and also have a massive passion for training, which is pretty hand in hand with that as a pursuit for a hobby, as you can imagine. So I've spent a long time essentially discovering what I want from my own training, from my own goals. And when I suppose when I ventured into more of the corporate space with fitness, like my background is working in gyms. I've always worked in gyms. I am a qualified PT as well. So I have done a lot of training people on the gym floor, as well as competing as an athlete and training at a very high level. So I think my understanding with my background for what members want from gym equipment, and then also as an actual serious athlete, what's important to achieve your goals at a high level, that's essentially what's led me down the path to coming up with my company, which is MFG. So yeah, I suppose hopefully that answers the question about who I am. I did work for Ashbourne, as you touched on as well, for 4.5 years, and that enabled me to have a lot of really meaningful conversations with gym owners. I suppose one of the key things that I learned from that was that every gym is different. So there's not one size fits all for every single facility out there, and each business is run in a slightly different way. So I've had hundreds and hundreds of conversations with successful gym owners, and then gyms that maybe aren't doing as well as they wanted to, and aided them in improving their business, getting more members, and just achieving more for themselves. So that's kind of my whole background myself, from a professional standpoint and a little bit of a personal standpoint. But that's why MFG was born. So MFG is, well, essentially myself and my business partner, Jordan Peters. We started MFG because anyone who knows Jordan would know that he's extremely well known in the bodybuilding space. He's got an extreme line of successful brands already in his path. So for me and him to collaborate on this and bring something that was really different and really special was the goal, really. So our key point to MFG is to create gym equipment that is built for everyone. So thinking about, we're not trying to isolate any membership group. We're making sure that we are suited for both someone who's walked into the gym for the very first time and just wants to, not look like they don't know what they're doing. So trying to make it as easy, as usable friendly as possible. But then also all the way up to high level IFBB pro athletes, Team GB athletes, professional rugby players, so that it suits everyone, basically.
Very apt for the Olympics. I like the Team GB shout out.
Well,
I think because obviously knowing the both of you, you are like, you're very clearly like into your gym, like as you say, like bodybuilders for multiple years. How do you kind of make sure you're making that distinction between like, we're still for everyone, and you don't kind of, how do you kind of differentiate that and make that so you're covering making it accessible for everyone, essentially.
Yeah, I think it really starts with the target market for the gym owner and how they're actually communicating all of the pieces that they have available to their desired audience. I think a lot of gym owners, get confused about who they want to attract into their gym. And they kind of, they want a really specific type of person, or they're looking for kind of a niche thing like high rocks or whatever. I suppose understanding and identifying that as a gym owner will enable them to then communicate that better through their branding, through their marketing, through their kit selection. But for anyone that doesn't really know how to start or where to start with that, we've developed 2 different lines of pieces. So we have what we call our core range, which is one kind of more user-friendly, accessible, not beginner, because again, anyone who has been training for many years could still train on it and achieve extremely good results. The biomechanics of our machines have all been designed by Jordan. Jordan's got extremely impressive knowledge pool when it comes to training and biomechanics. If you follow him, you would know that. But I suppose really for making it then more for higher level athletes, we have a performance line. So we have 2 lines of kit. So each one of our gym pieces have got 2 versions. So one of them is more for someone who's come to the gym for the first time, and then the other is more for high level athletes, but they can be interchanged depending on what the gym want to offer.
What is the difference there, like between the two?
It's a good question. So this is the part where the education side comes in from the gym owner, I think. And what we really want to aid with as a business is trying to educate people around how you can absolutely maximally recruit muscle fibers when you're training. So I suppose having that distinction is really important to us. But the main visual distinction is that our pieces that are more for the I suppose more advanced trainers are dual loading arm peg pieces. So what that is essentially there's 2 different loading arms, so you can bias different resistance profiles, so you can train the muscle harder in different portions of the repetition. So again, it's a little bit more geeky, but the way I see it, there's brands out there that what they offer is that as a real unique selling point, they offer the resistance profile altering as an advantage to their kit, but they're not covering the bases for people who walk into a gym, see 3 loading arms, and all of a sudden think, what am I doing? Where do I put this 2.5 kilo plate? First time I'm in the gym, there's 3 different places to put it. So yeah, essentially we're trying to just make that distinction really clear. We've got 1 loading arm piece on the core pieces, so it's really easy to use. They just simply put the plate on and it trains the muscle through the resistance profile on a standard kind of way, but still maximized for what we can. And then the 2 loading arms then on the pro line pieces.
I think you're probably one of the first people to call high level athletes and bodybuilders geeks. Yeah, fair enough.
Well, training geeks.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So, I mean, it's quite nice actually, because this is a little bit full circle in the sense of like, obviously you worked at Ashbourne, you've come here, and I'd say like, this is more your passion. I think that's probably fair to say.
I would say my passion is helping people. So I think that sounds really righteous, but it's the truth.
I agree.
I've been working in this profession in the fitness space for 12 years now. And I came from a corporate background even before that. I'm not that old, but just to say that. I've always done coaching. I've only stopped doing online coaching about a year and a half ago, when my time availability just couldn't support it anymore. And obviously I had my new business venture, so I wanted to give that 100%, as that's the only way I ever do anything. So I've always wanted to help people. So with Ashbourne, I really was able to help people business to business, improve their business, help. I genuinely want that for the people I speak to and interact with. And with MFG, it's the same thing. If I know that I can provide somebody with a piece of kit that's going to enable them to reach their goals quicker, more efficiently, safer, better, yeah, it's a win-win for me. So
yeah, I mean, it's literally the whole reason why we're here is the Gym Owners Forum. Like, it is, you say it sounds righteous, but it's true. And I mean, you kind of have to be a little bit righteous in the sense of it is about helping gym owners, and that's kind of the way that actually naturally you build trust with people and you actually just have more success because your network's bigger, you get known as someone that actually cares about what they do, and I think that shows, whereas like cheap kind of sales, but then it doesn't eventually, like it wears off, doesn't it?
100%. Just to touch on that as well, I think, because obviously I know the topic of the talk was kind of about growing your business, and we've gone a little bit more into
coming up, I promise.
The MFG backstory, which is amazing. I can talk about my business all day long, but I guess really one thing that I have noted in my many years in the industry is that I think certain business owners running gyms, running facilities, running coaching businesses place the care in the wrong areas. A lot of it is very much trying to be, I don't know, that like front facing social media, what gym lighting aesthetic is going to provide my members with the best kit to take pictures to share my business on social media, as opposed to actually looking at the core values of what they're trying to actually do for their customers essentially. I think a gym business is one of those things where I think people fail sometimes, where they forget that it is relying on repeat business. There's only so many people who are going to join your gym for the first time. Gym owners are very heavily adamant on trying to get new business, new members in the door.
Yeah.
Of course, that's extremely important. But I think placing care on that retention, making sure people are continuing to want to purchase from you over and over, because every time that money leaves their bank account, they're getting reminded that they're paying you. So I think, yeah, just sorry, little side note.
No, it's so true. I mean, I think that will actually be a very common theme throughout the day, is actually looking at like retention and your community. I mean, we say it's a buzzword like every so often, well, every minute basically, but it is that is really what it's I don't know the exact stat, but it's a hell of a lot easier to keep a member that's already in the gym than to go and find a new one, and
Exactly.
they're worth the same amount essentially. Well, no, not even really, because the member that's already in the gym has been there for a while, has a longer lifetime value. So it's it's very true, and it's definitely a theme throughout the day that we'll touch on.
I think as well, like, people underestimate the power of good customer service and referrals. And I think that the impact that you leave on your member, every single member, is so important, because that one person could tell 5 different people how their experience fared up in your business. They could then tell another 5 people. And then it's like this ripple effect of some stories going around about your business, which might not even be accurate in your opinion as a business owner. I mean, I would think it's pretty fair to say that most business owners think that they're doing a really good job, and it's because they work so hard, and anyone who gets into fitness does it for a real passion and they want to work hard. And that is one thing I will give gym owners all day long, is that they will work to the bone, and they are extremely hardworking and caring people. So it would probably damage them to know that someone didn't have a good experience, but I think it's then enabling gyms to have the correct kind of priorities in place. And companies like Ashbourne, and you know, not to give a plug, I mean, I don't work for Ashbourne anymore, but it's a great means of allowing there to be like a good support system in the gym to hear what's going on. And obviously the Gym Owners Forum is a really great platform for gyms to learn what other gyms are doing maybe not so well, what are gyms doing well, and then comparing that and reflecting back on their own systems and internal kind of operations, and then making those improvements, but not just listening to it, actually then putting them into action. I think those steps get missed. We go to these events, we go to these talks, we go to these conferences, and we learn so much, and we don't actually then implement them and put the process in place. There's like that barrier, because we get back to the gym and all of a sudden we're back in at 6 a.m, we're running a gym, we're blood, sweat and tears every day, and then those things kind of like fade. But the customers notice those things.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like personally, I have it where someone will be like, do you know what? We'll have an issue with something or other, whatever it is. I want to keep it vague so I don't put my foot in it. But and then someone will ask you like, what do you think the solution to that is? And you kind of tell them outright exactly what the solution is. They're like, well, why are you not doing it then? And like day in, day out, even with a lot of gym owners that we speak to, like it is always the case, and that it is that implementation that is the most important part of it. I think, 100%. I mean, speaking of hard work and putting your all into something, MFG, starting a business, take us through the kind of journey of how that's been so far. What were the kind of real challenges that you've faced so far?
It's hard to kind of, pinpoint it down. You know me. I love hard work, and I will put my heart and soul into anything that I do. So I hate to say that it's challenging, because I embrace challenge. I love challenge. Challenges is what builds us. That's what makes us better. We progress. I love progress. So if it means that I have to, work something out, or even have problems happen that I have to try and resolve, that to me makes me extremely happy, because I'm like, right, I'm challenging myself and I'm making steps forward personally in my business. So I suppose really some interesting parts were, I guess, the branding side of things, trying to decide where to go, what kind of direction to take with the branding. For me, I really wanted it to be nice and clean and aesthetic, and to try and, again, not alienate anybody. I've seen, other kit companies maybe go a little bit more down a hardcore bodybuilding, especially gym companies that have 2 or 3 loading arm pegs. They're very hardcore bodybuilding focused. Ironically, even though I'm a bodybuilder and my business partner is extremely well known in the bodybuilding space, that's actually not our goal with this brand. Our goal with this brand is to provide something for everyone that enables them to have access to that. So trying to get that right was probably the biggest challenge so far, was trying to not alienate the bodybuilder, high intensity level training people who want that kind of grit, versus somebody who is used to going into a gym and just being like a techno gym or a pre-core piece, and then they're comparing those 2 brands together. How do we create a brand that in any space doesn't give a certain vibe? We want it to be like neutral across everything. That was probably our biggest challenge, but I think with the 2 different performance and the core line, I think we've nailed that now. We also can customize the kit to anything you want. I don't know if we also have our loaded hyper extension machine with us here today. And what we've actually done is we've labeled the loading arm pegs with the different muscle groups that it's biasing, so that if somebody comes in, let's say you're a complete newbie, you come into the gym and you're like, right, okay, where do I load this loading peg or this loading peg? This one's hamstrings, this one's glutes. Just simplifies things a little bit more. So yeah, sorry, I've kind of gone off point, but
as a complete layman, I actually didn't even realize that makes a difference. But I mean, but I am probably closer to your average gym goer than a bodybuilder. I think that's not that unfair to say. So
have me fooled.
but also, I think your point on the branding as well is shut up. Your point on the branding is so true, because it is that sense of you think of a gym goer, you probably do picture a bodybuilder, but actually, you can probably give me a percentage better than I can, but you probably would say like 60% of 75% of your gym goers are actually just like people with 9-to-5s that are just not really, that just focus on staying fit and healthy rather than like getting aesthetically
peak body. No, 100%.
Maybe.
I learned that really early on, because as a PT, when you become a PT in the beginning, you think you're going to be training people that are like aesthetically XYZ. You think you're going to be like, I don't know, like this like top strength and conditioning coach that's going to be working with athletes and the elite. But actually, your bread and butter are the people who are just wanting to be better, wanting to be healthier, wanting to make progress. And I think that as a gym owner / business owner, and also for MFG as well, failing to take that into consideration when we're trying to appropriately place our products and our services is a big mistake and oversight, in my opinion. So maybe some gyms are hardcore bodybuilding gyms, but in my opinion, could we make them more user friendly? Yes, we could. So more accessible.
That wasn't our system, by the way, just thank God.
It's okay.
No, yeah, it's very true. And I think, how do you gauge what kind of facility you are? I know that seems like quite a very vague question, probably is. But how do you kind of, as a gym owner, look internally and say, like, this is actually who my target audience are, this is who my clients are?
I think you have to, I'm a little bit on the fence with this one, because I think it's a very clear decision. Do you want to make the most profit as a business, or do you want to do something that you were seriously passionate about? If they overlap, then fantastic. And normally, if you're really passionate about something, you'll make a profit from it, because you will work for that thing forever until the end of time, just relentlessly. So yeah, they do have some crossover. How to categorize yourself? I suppose you could probably look at your kind of like your target membership types that you've got on offer. So for example, like facilities who are trying to boost more younger users will have kind of favorable student membership options, or they'll have deals for like young student partners, and they'll have partnerships with local universities and colleges. And if you're trying to create more of the future gym goer vibe in your gym, let's say for example then you want to have more of a kind of a broader overview of pretty much everybody, then you have to make sure that your gym facilitates that. I think if you have got multiple high-end pieces that have got multiple loading arms, and you don't have, for example, like any classes or I don't know, even like a good stretching area. I know that sounds crazy, but some gyms don't even have like a really clean, nice Astro with a stretching area with equipment that they can use to do some like core work on the floor. And those things are things that general people who are using the gym for the first time want. So don't expect to get those people walking through the door if you're not offering that as a service. So yeah, I guess the only way to categorize yourself is look at what you offer as a business. So, and then it kind of gives you the clues of the type of people that you're going to attract. For instance, if you have a gym that's got one shared toilet, you're not really going to have tons of ladies wanting to come in and use your facility.
Yeah.
Like a lot of gyms talk about wanting to favor more female memberships, but they're not actually providing a safe space where females feel like that they want to actually train. And I know that sounds a bit controversial as such, because I have no trouble walking into a gym floor and training around men.
Yeah, yeah.
And I love that environment. I think it's great. But a lot of females don't feel that level of confidence. And I think that that's an oversight again, because gym owners are experienced gym goers. The people who are using your gym aren't. So they don't share that same confidence. They don't share that same feeling of security when they're in there. So having your, I don't know, abductor machine facing outwards for the world to see is not exactly going to be something any lady wants to get on and use. Or for that matter, a male in shorts, please no. But that's the kind of thing that you have to consider, is just your layout of the gym. You're laughing at me now. Your layout of the gym, and then also the actual things that you've got on offer in there as well.
Yeah, I think also one thing that I do find quite funny that people never do is like also just talk to like a woman and ask the questions. A lot of gym owners try and like do it themselves, and it's like, or they'll ask me, and I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know how to talk to a woman.
Yeah.
I've never done that before. No,
Yikes.
No, 100%. I think having interaction with your members is extremely beneficial. But honestly, if you have your kind of, can I swear in here? Probably not.
Go
but
for it.
if you have your shit together, your staff will be doing that for you. You as a gym owner shouldn't be really being relied on to create those relationships with the gym members. That should be built into your staff's whole kind of like ethos and how they are. And if they really love what they do, which they should, then that should be an easy feat for them to have conversations with people.
I want to dive into a little bit about your time at Ashbourne, because actually I think that is probably somewhere where you have a lot of valuable experiences from. In terms of, Gym Owners Forum, all about real conversations and home truths. In terms of like, are there any things from your calls with gym owners where you thought these guys are making like the same mistakes, or are just a very common kind of misconception? Or I know that's vague again, but are there anything like that where you can kind of see a pattern, I guess?
We've touched on this already, but I think focusing too much on getting new members instead of looking after what you've currently got. Like getting a new member is a lot more expensive than keeping them, like we've spoken about already. That's kind of one recurring theme that I see a lot with gym owners. I would say as well, secondly, because I used to speak to a lot of new gym owners. So they were opening a gym for the very first time. Any gym owner that's listening to this, you can probably, think back now what that was like as an experience, especially if it was your first time. You're learning a lot and you're trying to adapt to and, have all these great ideas. And I think that one thing that lets them a lot down is that they don't really get proper systems in place early on that allow them to, I suppose, like keep their time available to focus on the big picture things with the direction of the business. Like, how do I, for example, increase my profitability at my front of house end, like strategy stuff. So a lot of gym owners get pulled into the day-to-day running of the gym, which, there will be elements of that in any business. It's pretty unavoidable unless you've got some really hot staff in there, which is,
Got a hand raise.
Yeah. But I think a lot of them just seem to kind of get drawn in to things that they shouldn't be getting drawn into. And actually linking that back to my new business as well, that's been a real learning curve for me. So I can hands up say I have experienced that too, that I think knowing when to step back and actually hand over things to the appropriate person is a real trust issue thing for business owners. And I fully get that, because you know what I'm like. I've got standards for myself, right? I like things to be done in a very particular way. I set the bar high, but I'm like, if you can't meet that, then you're gone kind of thing. And I think that that's really important. And any successful gym has that same sort of stance, and they have that same positioning, and they really deeply care about standards. So I think it's kind of in a roundabout way of saying it is, one thing that I see kind of gym owners falling down on is, again, getting pulled into things that they shouldn't be getting pulled into on a daily basis, and then their time is no longer, and they don't have that to put back into their own self and their own business and their personal life. And why are we in this? We're in this to essentially do good, help people, care for people, but make money and enjoy the money, and go away with your family and have a life and do those things. And that's extremely important.
I think, yeah. And to kind of bring this full circle, I think that's quite a nice way to bring it back into MFG and working on your own business as well. In terms of getting support, I mean, I know that probably everyone struggles with actually just trusting someone enough to give them something to do, and trusting that it'll be done to a high standard. I mean, we both personally had experiences of that, I think, we could say. So
I hear some content in your voice.
no, that was interesting for you. But I think you can kind of maybe dive into that a little bit more, or just from your experiences so far of setting up your business, what would be your kind of key experience or key bit of advice to tell someone who's thinking about taking that leap of faith? And I guess that's also another one. I'm going to stop answering the question for you. But,
okay.
But what would you say to someone who's going to think about taking that leap of faith, starting their own business, starting their own facility, and yeah?
Change is hard.
Yeah.
Change is hard, but I embrace that. And again, like I said to you at the very beginning of this, challenges for me are welcomes. Same with my business partner, Jordan. We are both extremely keen on making progress. His whole ethos is about making progress, and I share those values, and that's why we have this business together, because we both have those standards. But I forget what the question was. What was your question?
What would be your advice? You nearly made me forget it then. What would be your advice to someone that's thinking about taking that leap and starting their business?
Definitely do it, because failing is not a thing. It's not an issue. It's just progress. Even if you fail in something, it means you've learned, and then you can adapt that in the future. We were just speaking about here, about this is your first time exhibiting at this amazing facility here. We're at Performex, and a lot of hard work has gone into this, but it still won't be perfect. Perfection doesn't exist in business, and it doesn't exist in anything. So trying to talk yourself out of taking a really big, significant step in your career path, in your business path, in your decisions, being influenced by that fear is just a big mistake. Because what's the worst that could happen? That's the way I always see it.
Yeah.
You fail, and then you go back to your last thing. But if you're someone that's relentless enough to continue to keep getting back up time and time again, and shooting that shot, you're going to be a lot more successful than somebody who talked themselves into a fear stance of, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Now, don't get me wrong, right? When you're starting a new business, there's a lot of money on the table, and there's a lot to lose. But money can be earned again.
Yeah.
Things can be earned again. And as long as you don't put yourself in a position of I don't know, going homeless or something like that. I mean,
okay, there's levels to it.
There's levels to it. But if you're smart about it, and you get the right investments, and you're positioning yourself from a marketing and a staff perspective and a brand perspective in a strong position, then you've got nothing to worry about. And actually, most importantly, I think each one of us all know in our core whether we have the ability to work hard to make something happen. And if you have that, then what are you worried about?
That's empowering. I think, yeah, it's true. Belief is really half of the battle. And I think knowing you can do it, you will always kind of end up somewhere at the end of that road. And I guess you can look at it in a negative way or a positive way. And I think if you look back at your life when you're kind of lying on your deathbed, is it something that you're going to go, I actually really wish I did actually just take that leap and kind of did try and change my life a little bit?
No regrets, man.
No regrets.
No regrets.
That's a perfect way to finish it.
I think that is one thing that we can definitely take from this, is that you do not want to have regrets on your deathbed. No regrets.
Get it tattooed across the chest. No.
But yeah.
Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Tom.
All the best.
Pleasure.
That is all for this episode of the Performex edition of the Gym Owners Forum podcast. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I thoroughly enjoyed all of the conversations that I had from the 2 days of the show. Would highly recommend anyone to check out Performex next year and just other industry events in the UK. If you enjoyed the episode and you want more like it, head to YouTube or anywhere you can get podcasts and look for the Gym Owners Forum podcast. If you want some more quick fire and actionable tips, head to our socials where we're posting regularly about insights and just general tools and things we find from the industry right there directly to you. And if you just want to get in touch, reach out to us, DM us, email us, go to our website, reach out, and we're always happy to have a chat and a consultation on how we can help. With that said, see you on the next episode.